help us. Okay. We're so happy that you guys are here to join us tonight and just learn a little bit more about building up your summer survival kit with Solle. So that being said, we're going to start off with the testimony from Brittany. Oh, I can't get it to go to the next slide. Sorry, guys. We're going to start off with the testimony from Brittany about my hometown's favorite product, the Solle AC cream. So, okay, so Brittany, you can go ahead.
All right, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, just making sure. All right, so Kristen quoted me saying, I use AC cream for everything. I do consider it one of the everything creams. I think they say it has 101 uses. I've found even more uses for it than that list. Many of the top things that we use it for in our household is lotion, just a basic lotion, and even like facial moisturizer. We use it after getting mosquito bites or any type of bug bites, and it kind of just helps relieve the itch or sting of it. Rashes is another big thing that we use it for in our house, especially my son's diaper rashes. If he gets a really bad one, then we just cake the AC cream on it, and usually next diaper change, the rash is almost gone. Another thing I found it worked for, which I don't know many people have tried this, was what back when I was still nursing, is for different nursing issues like chapped nipples and clogged milk ducts and stuff like that. I felt like it was just instant relief for it. And then another one we just used it for the other night was my nephews were playing in the grass, and then they hopped into the pool after, and shortly after that they were all itching all over, and so we just put AC cream all over their backs, and it was instant relief for them. Another one, my husband loves taking it with him when he works in the desert in California area, for getting different heat rashes on his legs. He uses it for relief for that too. I think that's the basic uses in our household of what we use it for. It definitely needs to be in everyone's summer survival kit.
Yeah, for sure. We are using like all the same too in our house. It's always constantly on our counter. So thank you so much, Brittany, for sharing that. AC cream is just a must for sure, especially if you have little kids of all ages. So next we get to hear from my favorite roomie, Tiffany. Fun fact, Tiffany and I end up sharing a room on every trip our team takes together. I enjoy learning from her so much. She's seriously the best. So go ahead, Tiffany.
Thank you. So my name is Tiffany DeLuisi. I'm a functional medicine practitioner. I'm in Thornton, Colorado, and I've been with Solle for almost 5 years now. You can go ahead and change the slide. So when I work with clients, I always use Solle products, but a lot of times what I want people to understand is there's no quick fix to anything, right? So a lot of times people will take something and be like, well, I took it for 3 days over the last month and I didn't notice a difference. And there's some things that you can do to get the most out of your Solle program, whether you're taking one product or every single product we have. Okay, you can go to the next one. So I want you to kind of understand how our body heals. So when we have a unwanted symptom or an unwanted illness, our body will try to find the root cause of what's going on there, right? So for example, I might have high blood pressure, right? But it may be caused by something deeper that we're not really aware of, okay? So when we come in and we start to heal the body, especially when we come in with herbs or any other kind of natural remedies, or no matter how you're doing it, the body likes to heal from the head down and from inside out, basically, right? So the body is really, really smart. It knows how to heal. And so it'll come in and it'll try to figure out what is the most important organ or what is the most important symptom that needs to heal before we can heal other things, if that makes sense. So it's kind of like in reverse order. So I may be like, no, the only symptom I need to fix is my high blood pressure. But if your body's like, no, that's a result of this, and this, and all of those things need to be addressed before we address whatever the symptom is. Okay. So I always like to say that when you're healing the body, it takes a minimum of 90 days. And then you need to add a month for every year that you've had the problem. So I work with a lot of clients with chronic illness, autoimmune, and sometimes they'll be like, oh, but I've been doing this for 30 days and I don't notice a difference, but they've had autoimmune issues for 10 years. So I tell them it's probably going to take at least a year, right? So here are some other ways other than just taking a supplement, even though our supplements are amazing, that will kind of help you get the most out of it. And number one is hydration. Most people do not drink enough water. We're drinking a ton of caffeine. We're drinking a lot of other things that like have artificial sweeteners or sweeteners in them. And pure water is really the best way to hydrate our body. An exception to that rule is when we add like our Vital or our other drinks, that can also help us stay hydrated. All right, next slide. Sleep is also super, super important. And even though Solle products can help us improve our sleep, it's also about our habits and making sleep a priority. So going to sleep at a certain time, waking up at a certain time, making sure that we're getting plenty of sleep, because sleep is when our body does a lot of its healing. And so we want to make sure that that's a priority. Okay, next. I can pretty much bring everything back to digestion and gut health, no matter what you tell me you're dealing with. And of course, that starts with your diet and your nutrition and what you put into your body. And as much as I would love to say, I take Solle so I can eat whatever I want, right? That's not really how it works, right? I want to be filling my body with fuel that's nutritious, and Solle can come in and help with that and fill in the gaps, but it's not the only thing, right? It can help when we have digestive issues, help us break down foods and get the nutrients out of it. But it does start with where you're eating, right? So, you know, if a lot of times the healing will take much longer if this is not something that we also address. Okay, next. Stress is a big one, a huge one. What I love about Solle is that we use adaptogens in every single formula. And the main job of an adaptogen is to lower stress in the body. So if we have stress that's way up here, we're constantly in fight or flight, which means we can't be in rest and digest. You can't be in both at the same time. So we could go back to, if our stress is high, then it doesn't matter if we're eating the healthiest diet on the planet. We're not digesting it. We're not absorbing the nutrients. So I love that adaptogens is a great first step to calming that fight or flight and calming the stress in the body so that everything else can come back into balance. But there are definitely other ways to kind of recognize, you know, this is a stressful situation. What can I do to try to calm the stress response? Okay, what do I have next? All right, so I love that, you know, even though I had shared, you know, other things to keep in mind, and yes, adaptogens can help with all of those things. When we have all of these daily habits, these health habits in place, it's going to help our Solle package work better. We're going to start to see results quicker, and we're going to bring our body back into balance and feel our best selves as soon as possible.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Tiffany, for all that amazing information. I just love learning from you, and you make it so easy. The things that I heard you say, though, that I loved was the consistency equals success. So yeah, the more consistent and the more true that we are being to the products, the better, more success we're going to have. And I also loved how you explained how our bodies heal from the inside out, because that's kind of a foreign way for people to understand those things. So thank you for that. Next, we are going to hear another testimony from Valerie about her grandson.
Thank you, everybody. So this grandson that I want to talk about is actually celebrating his 14th birthday in August, but this happened when he was 6 years old. So he's a normal 6-year-old. He's running around out on the farm. And what do they want to do when they're out hunting for toads and salamanders and everything? He decides he wants to jump off a tractor tire. So those of you that have been around the farm know how tall those are. He jumps off, and needless to say, we got a phone call saying he'd cut open his hand. So Troy got him and took him to our little small town ER, where they, as you can see, they stitched him up. And he was cut deep enough that you could see the tendons. I mean, it was very, very deep. We were very concerned about him even being able to have feeling in that area. So how I addressed it and treated it, and keep in mind, for those of you that don't know, we raised this grandson for several years because our daughter was deployed in Afghanistan. And so I had laid a foundation already of good food and Solle products, because he was living with us when Solle first originated. And those of you know that we've been with Solle since the beginning. So I'd already laid that good foundation for him. So the way I addressed it was with the AC cream and a drop of the Calm and drop of Balance, and putting it around this initially because it was bandaged. And as soon as the bandage could come off, yes, the only other thing I did was soak it in some aloe vera on a daily basis. But these pictures are 2 weeks apart. Now he has no scar. He has never lost any feeling, nerve endings or anything issues, and he never complained of pain. We never had any swelling. And if you think about the two formulas that we use there with the Balance and the Calm, it helped him to maintain his even keel. And so he was very interested anytime we would get in and work with this. And remember that Solflex AC has got arnica in it, which works on trauma, which obviously this is a trauma to the body. The adaptogens are supporting healing, and calendula, and yes, there's more elements in this cream than just those two, but calendula is very gentle and well known for how it works with children, which is one of the reasons it's so good with skin. So this whole combination, amazing. It was just, even for me, myself, who I've seen so much of this type of healing, this was neat for this active of a young man, because there was no slowing him down. As my sister said, who got to spend some time with him recently, she goes, as you know, your grandson leaves no stone unturned. And he's still to this day showing up with any frog, toad, salamander, anything that he can get his hands on. So it was definitely our Solle magic cream and oils to the rescue. Thank you, Tiffany.
That's just awesome. I love seeing these like before and afters after anything really with Solle, because there is always such a huge transformation that it's so cool. And it really is a miracle kind of what these oils and what the AC cream can do. So thank you for sharing that, Valerie. Okay, so get your pen and paper out as we enjoy this next segment with our founder and president, Greg Halliday.
Thank you. Thank you. Is that Ashley? Thank you, Ashley. And I love listening to Tiffany and Val's testimonial. I'm the same way. I love to try to file away all of these experiences, because I do in other Zooms, I hope to share them and spread the information. Someone that I'm on several Zooms with likes to quote Dr. Bernard Jensen. I don't know if any of you have heard of him, and I'm not sure I'll get his quote exactly right. Okay. So, but like I just turned 58. I can't be expected to be perfect. Right. But he said something like, to the effect of, when we don't share the information or the education we get, we're retaining something that doesn't belong to us. I probably butchered that, Valerie. Valerie probably knows it better. But I really feel that way. I just feel lucky to hear these, and I want to pass them on. Helps me by sharing them, remember them, and they're definitely useful in my own family and around those who I come in contact with. There are so many uses for this cream. It's funny, we printed that sheet, 101 uses, but really, I think here we are a few years later, maybe 7 years, trying to think of when this cream came along. It was a couple of years into Solle at least, I believe. So maybe we've had it for 7 or 8 years. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see how long the sheet would be now if everyone turned in the uses. I think a good question is just anything that has to do with the skin or topical in any way, and not just topical, but certainly anything topical. Try the cream. Try the AC cream. I got to tell you a couple of, if you don't mind me sharing a couple of my own. I actually substituted. I know it doesn't look like I have much hair left on my head, but when I had more hair, and even now, I still have 2 crowns and 3 cowlicks. When I was a kid, people hated to cut my hair, and usually my parents just butched it because you couldn't do it, 2 crowns and 3 cowlicks. And so when people started using these creams, you know, like the, you can use just paste, hair paste, or anything to move your hair in the right place. So I've substituted all those for the Solflex AC cream. I know that sounds super weird. I use it there. And there are a few reasons for that. When I lived for a couple of years in Paraguay, and from that point, I got some kind of fungus in my hair that where the hair would start falling out. I didn't know anything about herbs at the time. I went to several hospitals and got creams. It would like move the fungus to a different side of my hair. It wouldn't get rid of it. And I mean, I literally tried everything that they gave me. And then a lady that cooked for us, we had all our meals at her little cafe. She saw me like scratching my head. She came over, she goes, let me look in your hair. She gets in there and starts looking in my hair. And she goes, yeah, you have a fungus. And she went into her backyard. I wish I knew what the plant was. She cut this little, it was some type of a perennial bush. She cut a chunk, stuck it in a little pitcher, in a pan, boiled it, cooled it, and put it in a plastic pitcher with a lid, like a 2.5 gallon pitcher, gave it to me and said, I want you to use half of this on your hair tonight. Don't wash your hair the next day and use the other half the next day. That's what I did. I had been dealing with this for a year down there. This was like 2/3 I was down there 2 years. This was like a year and a half down there. And it went away, totally went away. Now, I only washed twice with that stuff. Years later, like 20 years later, it crops up again here. And I've learned a little bit more. I wish I knew enough to totally solve it, that you can't just treat that topically. But I'm sharing the story because I've noticed that it helps with that as well. And I would, these little hair pastes and things would make it worse. And then I replaced them out for the Solflex AC cream, and it's better. I use it before I go on any bike ride in the sun. In the morning, I'll go out and I'll bike in the mountains. I put AC cream. I use it as an aftershave. I use it at post sun every time after I've been out in the sun. I mean, there's just, I couldn't list all. I put it like inside my nose. I know that sounds weird, but it's not weird. Trust me, it's not weird. It's normal. It really can go anywhere. And I will just tell you the reason we adapted this formula, because this is a formula that was developed by another gentleman many years ago. We purchased the core formula, and then we asked if we could add a few things in. We added the St. John's wort. There is St. John's wort in this. We added olive leaf extract. And I'm trying to think of the one other thing we added. We added 3 other things. It was already loaded with arnica calendula, and that's what the AC stands for. And these really wonderful healers that do so much more. But when you look at the ingredients, in fact, I was looking on our site. Let me see if it'll show me, because I'm trying not to. Sorry if I'm staring into my screen looking, because I've got it pulled up here. Yeah, just to list a few of them. Witch hazel, which not everyone's familiar with. MSM, I wanted to mention. Most MSM is animal source, or very frequently animal sourced in creams and etc. We did not, of course, want that. Ours is not animal source, it's plant sourced. And chamomile, most people don't know because they call out on the label the allantoin. I'm not even sure I'm pronouncing that right, but it's from comfrey. It's one of the actives in comfrey and some other plants. So there is comfrey. And a lot of people don't know that. Tilia cordata, a little less known. I think we might have added that one as well. It doesn't really matter because the formula is actually Solle's, our unique formula, but it does have this huge array. And the reason for that is we wanted to make sure that what we were doing here was actually, what's the word I'm looking for? Applicable in the highest percentage of situations so that a person doesn't have to think about, oh, is it okay to use the cream here? It's been our experience for a number of years. I actually don't know if anyone's ever had an adverse situation. We have heard of none. And that's from people using it literally everywhere on the body. I won't get super specific, but it definitely is meant, it's put together that way. The olive leaf is very antiviral and bacterial. And so people sometimes wonder about like cuts and stuff and things. What if it's a little bit open still? Like Valerie said, when there's a Band-Aid, we're going to let the Band-Aid stay where there's stitching because we want to keep it closed. But once we're able to get to it, I can't tell you how many times I've used it myself. I used to always had a history because I used to like to play basketball and spraining ankles. I sprained an ankle hiking a mountain here once, hard enough that I heard a snap. So I knew it was one of the serious ones. And I didn't really have anything because I was up at about 11,000 feet. I didn't have anything to ice it but I knew enough to leave it in the shoe. But as soon as I got back, I did ice and AC cream. And that type of an injury for me, my foot would be black within about a day and a half. And it would be, intense swelling for a number of days, close to a week. And then I knew it was a 3 or 4 week heal. I actually competed in a triathlon, an Olympic distance triathlon, the very next Saturday, 1 week from that event, with zero wrapping. I did not wrap it, bandage. There was a tiny trace of black on my heel where it was starting to bruise before I could get down the mountain and get going on it, and never did bruise up. Swelling, like Valerie says, swelling stayed down. I did add some of the balance oil as well. It stayed down and never was bad. I did not have pain with it. I did not need to take Advil and stuff, for that. So it really is a survival kit item. It's super, super versatile. The ingredients in it are special because not only are they healers, but some of them are accelerators of the body's natural regenerating that goes on. And so it's just good it's good in general, since our body's always rebuilding itself, right? I think of Valerie's presentation back when we launched Longevity 3. And we talked about that and how bones are always rebuilding and things are always rebuilding. And, why do we rebuild? In fact, I was in a live meeting in Miami on Saturday, and the presenter said, since that happens, why do we rebuild the same damaged cell? Well, because it's rebuilding what is with the materials that are. If we improve the nutrition, and I'm with Tiffany, not just the therapeutic plant nutrition, but what we eat, if we improve both those, the body is quite remarkable. It can build better bricks now. It's got better materials. That's my simplistic way of looking at it. So the cream is part of that. Some things get absorbed in, but we also have to work on the inside. We got to do both, and just I think amazing things happen. So I do love this cream. It's great. Back to you.
Awesome.
Ashley.
Thank you. Well, and it's funny when you're talking about with the sports injuries and such, I actually have my sister coaches volleyball, and then my good friend's husband coaches basketball, and they were using it personally in their house, but it turned into going into the medical bag at the school. So that's a win for me, I'd say.
Yeah, that
And
is.
for them, because it works and they use it. So but yeah, and honestly, I'm glad that we can be weird together, Greg, because I actually put the cream in my nose too. And so we're just making weird the new
Yes.
normal.
Okay, I have to ask you one question then, if you've done this before, because this is what I did to test it before we got involved and talked with the formulators. I love the thing, if you like to walk, bike, run, anything active, And whatever gets sore on you, for me, it was always my calves, Achilles and calves. It's part to do with my gait, right? But if it's whatever part of your leg that gets really sore, if it's your quads, your hamstring, whatever, your shins, put the cream on one of them and don't put it on the other. And just, you can either do it right after you get done or do it right before you do the activity and just see the difference. It's so amazing. It's really actually quite amazing. You'll do that once and then you'll put it on both.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, we
Yeah.
could go on and on about the testimonies on AC cream. My husband also got kicked in the calf by a cow calf, and it swelled up so huge, and he wouldn't let me take pictures of it because he was so self-conscious of it at the time. But the amazing, like, it never bruised, and the swelling went down in 2 days. It was great.
Yeah. So
Okay.
good.
And there's a lot of testimonies too in the chat, you guys, but Kristen did say why in the nose. I don't know why Greg puts it in the nose, but during sinus and allergy season, my nose just gets raw. And so
That's why raw,
Yeah.
I get the same thing. Yes,
Yeah.
raw nose.
Yep. So awesome. Thank you so much, Greg. It's always great to hear from you. Okay, so next I think we're talking, right here. Okay. We're gonna hear from Lon, and he's gonna share his story on another amazing product line with the essential oils. So go ahead, Lon.
Hey, everybody. Hopefully you can see me. Can you see me? There I am. I guess I want to start by apologizing for my less than professional appearance. That is because I am currently in or near Atlanta, Georgia. My son's playing in a baseball tournament, hence the baseball cap. And do you like my background? I'm actually not by the beach. I'm by Atlanta. But when Corinne asked me if I would share this testimony, I said, I don't care where I am. I'm so excited to share this experience and this testimonial that I had with Soul Essentials Balance. And so here's the story. When my son was about 9 or 10 years old, so this was like 7 years ago, 6 or 7 years ago, and he had been suffering with warts, and specifically he had a plantar wart on the bottom of his foot. And I don't know if any of you have had that experience, but they can be very painful, and his was very stubborn. No matter what we tried to do, it just would not go away. We'd tried freezing it off with liquid nitrogen. He'd gone to, our family practitioner doctor. They'd tried different over-the-counter medications to try and get rid of it. Nothing would take it away. And so my wife decided, you know what we're going to have to do? We're going to have to actually have it surgically removed. And so she had made an appointment with the hospital to have him come in and be looked at to have this wart surgically removed. And she made the appointment on a Thursday or Friday. And we were supposed to go meet with the doctor on, I think, Tuesday of the next week. Well, we had just come out with our Soul Essentials Balance line, and our Soul Essentials line, and I had one of each of the 4 Soul Essentials essential oils blends. And I said, Jennifer had said that the balance specifically was really antiviral, antibacterial, and that it would be good for warts. So I told my wife, I said, what do we got to lose? Let's try it. Let's see what happens. And she says, well, how do we apply it? And I said, I don't know, just dump it on there. Just like drop it right on his foot. So we just put it directly on the wart on the bottom of his foot. And then we covered that with a Band-Aid. And like 2 days later, when it was over the weekend, we just kept putting it on there and putting the Band-Aid back on there. 2 days later, she removed the Band-Aid, and that wart was starting to turn black. And she's like, I don't know what's going on. And I'm like, well, let's just keep doing it. Let's see what happens. So we canceled the appointment with the doctor, with the hospital, and we just kept putting the balance oil on the bottom of his foot. And it took about, 3 weeks for it to completely kill the wart. And it was kind of, I don't know whether you call it cool or kind of gross, but it actually like came out of the bottom of his foot, and you could see the little spider legs of the wart, and it left a hole in the bottom of his foot about 1/4 of an inch deep. it was really cool. And to me, it was cool. My wife thought it was kind of gross. But anyway, that's our story with the balanced oil. And since we have used it and recommended it to a number of our friends, family members, anytime anybody has warts, we say just put it on directly. And it may take a couple, 3 weeks, but you're going to start to see the wart dissolve and go away. And that's what's happening. That's my story with Soil Essentials Balance. Thanks, everybody.
That's awesome. Corinne actually shared that story with us not too long ago because my daughter got one on her pointer finger, and we're in the process of doing the same exact thing. So she's kind of freaked out about the black for when that's going to happen, but we're going for it. So, but I think Greg, you were going to cut. Was that one? Sorry.
No, I'm just saying, yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. But Greg, I think you're gonna make a few remarks on this as well.
I was. Do you want me to? Because
Yeah.
well, I love that story, and we've done the same thing in our family. My daughter, when she was in kindergarten, our youngest, who's now a junior in high school, I don't know who she was listening to, started drinking. One of them started drinking Vital. So drinking, I don't know how they got this. Drink Vital, put the balance oil on. And several of them got rid of warts that way. So they were kind of doing the inside out. And the way I found out about it is she asked me, she goes, I need some Vital, and I need an oil to take to school because my friend has one and she needs this stuff. I'm like, what? Wait, what? She's in kindergarten or first grade. I can't remember. She was quite young. No, I'm a big proponent. The oils for warts. I've actually taken a big, huge mole, weird brown thing off my, like just below my chest. I actually have pictures, but I'm not going to show them to you. And it did the same thing Lon says. You put it on. This one actually took me a number of weeks. I just thought, I'm going to try this too. I'd had it for years. There is no mark. There is no hole in my chest. The skin's totally normal. This big, it was an outgrowth, not like the kind that are just a color on your skin, but an outgrowth. Same thing, just balance. But I did balance and AC cream over it, and then I put a Band-Aid so it wouldn't rub off on my shirt. That's just what I did. Yep. It actually, the creams and the oils are fantastic. The cream and the oils.
That's awesome. Okay. So Greg, I guess this is the part that I was supposed to ask you to answer this question for me. So sorry about the confusion there, but how would you describe the value of the adaptogens bring to the formulas in Solle?
Oh man, that is a hard question because they do so many different things. And the more we all learn about them, we continue to be impressed, and we continue to get, I think, perspective and understanding. I'll just answer it today by telling you a conversation. So I think I mentioned I was at a live meeting. There were probably 120 people gathered in Miami. And during the meeting, huge thunderstorm, lightning, bolts going everywhere. Yes, it was lots of fun. But anyway, I was talking with a gentleman who had all his training as a medical doctor, came to the United States. I'm trying to think of which country he got the training in, got recertified here, and has done a variety of specialties in the healthcare system. I want to say for 10 to 12 years here in our country, and who had a life-changing experience because of his health. There's no time tonight to tell the whole thing, but he used a balanced soul program, and it shocked him how quickly he started to see change and how he could come out in a matter of months of this very serious situation. And he's now spending his time learning about these wonderful natural formulas and adaptogens. And he and I were talking about kind of this question: why do adaptogens make such a difference in the formulas? What value do they add? And I told him, I think the way I would answer that question is constantly changing over the years in its detail, but not in its principle. And the way that I would say it nowadays would be that we do combine adaptogens, but we use other complementary herbs with them. And we use concentrated amounts of them because we want to provide enough to meet today's challenges. That's sort of, to me, a basic nutrition principle: enough so that the body is able to meet what its needs are, what's lacking, what is what is needing to be brought to the process for this wonderful normalizing process the body wants to take in everything anyway, both emotionally and physically. So what I think adaptogens do is during the process, they keep the body with the ability to be close in a more closely harmonized state, wherein it can more easily heal, more readily move from imbalances to balance, more readily fix things that get, broken or poisoned, like, chemicals and artificial things and synthetics that sit places that don't get processed. So the adaptogens, aside from feeding basic metabolism and energy, they also have this wonderful, to use the words of scientists, it's not clear why, it's not clear how, but this wonderful ability to keep the body more harmonized so that those things can happen. Because like Tiffany said, if we're in fight or flight, we're not in rest and, what did you say? I loved it. Rest and digest. Yeah.
Digest, yeah.
Yeah. Where things can now, nutrition can be processed and now it can be used to now build or rebuild. So I think adaptogens, that is one way of looking at what they do in the formula. They bring, not only do they plug a lot of holes nutritionally, but they also keep us in a state where the body can actually more readily fix itself.
Yeah, for sure. I love it when people are asking what an adaptogen is, or how they can be, why adaptogens, right? Those are like some of my favorite questions, and just talking about the awesomeness of adaptogens. So thank you for thinking about that in the very beginning of creating Solle, all of you guys. So thank you so much. Okay, so I just wanted to take a moment and invite you all to join us and be a part of our team if you are not already. If you haven't heard yet, we all work together. We have a lot of fun. And we know that you'd probably fit right in because there's a little bit of everybody in this group, let me tell you, and they're awesome. So talk to the specialist that invited you or shared this call with you. And when you join for $25, you'll get $25 back once you get your first member. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Thank you. Special thank you to Greg, Lon, Tiffany, Brittany, and Valerie for sharing. And if you're able to, join us next week. Bye, everybody.